Have you ever felt that there is something different about your life? As if, even in the midst of challenges, there is a greater purpose guiding your steps? Perhaps you've noticed that while many around you follow a common path, something inside you insists on seeking deeper answers, something the world cannot offer. This feeling of restlessness, of being called to something greater, may be the first sign that you are one of God's chosen ones. The chosen ones are not ordinary people. From an early age, they carry an invisible mark, a calling that sets them apart. But being a chosen one does not mean having an easy life. On the contrary, chosen ones often face rejection, loneliness, and trials that seem impossible to overcome. However, all of this is part of a greater plan. God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. And if you are here, hearing this message, know that it is not by chance. Perhaps this is the moment when you will finally understand what has been happening in your life. In this video, we will explore profound truths about the chosen ones, the divine calling, the marks that set them apart, the trials they face, and the purpose they carry. Each part of this content has been prepared to help you recognize your journey and strengthen your faith. Before we continue, I want to ask you something important. If this message has already touched your heart, like this video and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you help us spread this message to more people who also need to hear it. Now let's discover together what it means to be one of God's chosen ones. Have you ever felt that, even in the midst of life's difficulties, there is something greater calling you? As if there is a special purpose reserved for you, something that goes beyond what the eyes can see. That feeling is no coincidence. For the chosen ones, the divine calling is a reality that manifests itself subtly but powerfully. It does not come with fanfare, but as a whisper that resonates within you, awakening a restlessness that cannot be ignored. The divine calling is the first step in the journey of the chosen ones. It is like a spark igniting within the heart, indicating that God has something greater reserved for your life. However, not everyone can hear this calling. Many people go through life distracted, caught up in daily concerns, without realizing that something deeper is happening. But the chosen ones feel this restlessness from an early age. It's as if something inside them says, "You are not here by chance. There is a greater purpose for your existence." It is important to understand that the calling is just the beginning. It is not the mission itself, but the awakening to it. The calling is that feeling that something is waiting to be discovered. The mission, on the other hand, is the path you must walk to fulfill that purpose. Think of the calling as a door that opens, while the mission is the journey you take after crossing through it. The calling awakens you, but the mission requires action, faith, and courage. Often the calling manifests itself in simple yet profound ways. One of the most common signs is the feeling of not fitting in certain environments or groups. Perhaps you grew up feeling different, as if you didn't fully belong to your family, school, or social circle. This sense of displacement is not a mistake. On the contrary, it is a sign that God is setting you apart for something greater. He is preparing you for a unique journey that not everyone around you will be able to understand. Another sign of the divine calling is the constant desire to seek answers about the meaning of life. While many are satisfied with material things or a routine existence, you feel a restlessness that drives you to question, why am I here? What is my purpose? This search for answers is a reflection of God's calling, inviting you to connect with Him and the plan He has for you. It's as if something inside you knows there is more to life than what is visible. Additionally, the divine calling often awakens in you an impulse to help others, even without expecting anything in return. You feel compassion for those around you, especially for those who are suffering. Perhaps you find yourself offering help, listening to others' struggles, or simply being a comforting presence for those in need. This desire to serve and make a difference is another clear sign that God is calling you to something greater. He is shaping you to be an instrument of love and transformation in the world. The calling can also manifest through moments of silence and reflection. Sometimes it arises in solitude, when you feel disconnected from the world, but deeply connected to something greater. Other times, it appears in unexpected situations, such as a word that touches your heart, a revealing dream, or even an inexplicable sense of peace amidst chaos. God speaks in many ways, and the calling is His way of reminding you that you are not alone and that your life has a purpose. But the calling is not something you can ignore for long. It grows within you, like a flame that does not go out. Even if you try to distract yourself or follow a different path, it always returns because it is part of who you are. God chose you before you were even born, and the calling is His way of reminding you of that. As we say, the calling is not a shout. It is a whisper that resonates within you and becomes impossible to ignore. If you feel that you are hearing this calling, know that this is just the beginning. Recognizing the calling is the first step to understanding your journey as one of God's chosen ones. It is the moment when you begin to realize that your life is not an accident, but part of a greater plan. However, the calling also brings responsibilities. It requires you to be willing to listen, to seek, and to prepare for the mission that lies ahead. Now that you understand what the divine calling is, it's time to take the next step. Let's explore how this calling shapes the journey of the chosen ones and how it connects to the marks that set you apart. If you've made it this far, stay with us, because your journey is just beginning. God has something extraordinary reserved for you. 1. A sense of not belonging. From an early age, chosen ones feel like they don't fully fit in the places they are. It could be in their family, school, workplace, or even among friends. It's that feeling of being out of place, as if you are different, even without fully understanding why. Maybe you grew up hearing that you were strange or complicated, or perhaps you noticed that your interests and thoughts didn't align with those of the people around you. This sense of not belonging is not a mistake or something bad. In fact, it's a sign that God has something special for you, something that goes beyond what the ordinary world can offer. 2. A powerful intuition. Another striking sign of a chosen one is intuition. You have the gift of knowing things without logical explanation. Perhaps you can sense when something bad is about to happen, or quickly perceive when someone has bad intentions. This powerful intuition is like an internal compass that God placed within you to protect and guide you. Often this perception can save you from dangerous situations or toxic relationships. It is a divine gift that helps you navigate the world, even when everything seems uncertain. 3. Connection with the invisible chosen ones have a special connection with the spiritual world. This can manifest in various ways, such as seeing repeated numbers, e.g. 1111 or 2222, having revealing dreams, or noticing synchronicities that seem more than mere coincidences. Perhaps you've already felt that God, or the universe, is trying to send you a message through these signs. This connection with the invisible is God's way of reminding you that you are not alone, that He is always by your side, guiding your steps. Pay attention to these signs, as they may be answers to the questions you carry in your heart. 4. Rejection and resistance. Unfortunately, being a chosen one also means facing rejection and resistance. Often, the people around you don't understand who you are or what you carry within you. This can manifest as constant criticism, misunderstandings, or even envy and hostility. Maybe you've been the target of gossip, judgment, or felt that no matter how hard you try, you're never fully accepted. This happens because the light you carry disturbs those who are not yet ready to see. But remember, this rejection does not define who you are. On the contrary, it proves that you were set apart for something greater. 5. A compassionate heart. Chosen ones have a special sensitivity to the pain of others. You feel compassion for the suffering of others and have the desire to help, even when it's not reciprocated. Perhaps you've put yourself in difficult situations just to ease someone else's suffering, even if it cost you time, energy, or resources. This empathy is one of the strongest marks of a chosen one, because God has called you to be an instrument of love and healing in the world. Even if people don't always recognize or value your help, know that every act of kindness you perform has an eternal impact. 6. Attraction to children and animals. Finally, a very common characteristic of chosen ones is their natural connection with children and animals. They feel comfortable and protected in your presence, as if they sense the purity and light you carry. Perhaps you've noticed that children like to be near you, or that animals approach you spontaneously, even those that are usually wary. This attraction is no coincidence. Children and animals have a very strong spiritual sensitivity and can recognize the goodness and peace that exist within you. These signs are not evident to everyone, but for those with spiritual eyes, they are clear. They show that you have been set apart by God for a special journey. However, carrying these marks also means facing challenges. Rejection, loneliness, and trials are part of the path. But all of this has a purpose. God is shaping and preparing you for something great. The marks of a chosen one are not evident to everyone, but for those with spiritual eyes, they shine like stars in the middle of the night. Every chosen one goes through the desert. This period of solitude, trials, and challenges is not a punishment, but a preparation. God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. And the desert is the place where He molds, strengthens, and prepares those who have been called to fulfill a greater purpose. Although it is a painful process, it is also essential for the chosen one to be ready for the mission God has reserved for them. The desert, in a spiritual context, is a period of intense difficulties. It's that moment when it seems like everything is going wrong, when you feel alone, and when God seems silent. But in reality, the desert is a place of transformation. It's where God works in you, removing what no longer serves and preparing you for something greater. It's like the process of polishing a precious stone. It needs to be cut and polished to reveal its brilliance. In the same way, the desert is where God polishes the chosen ones. In the Bible, we see clear examples of how the desert was essential in the lives of great men of God. Moses, for example, spent 40 years in the desert before being called to free the people of Israel. During that time, he was molded, learning to depend on God and lead with humility. Joseph, another example, was sold as a slave by his own brothers and spent years in prison before becoming governor of Egypt. And David, before becoming king, faced years of persecution and isolation, living as a fugitive. In all these cases, the desert was not the end, but the beginning of something great. It was the place where God prepared them to fulfill their purposes. The trials that chosen ones face in the desert are varied, but they all have one goal: to strengthen faith and character. One of the most common trials is social isolation. Often, the chosen one feels distanced from friends and family, as if no one understands them. This isolation can be painful, but it is necessary. It is in the silence that God speaks the loudest. He uses these moments to teach you to depend on Him, not on the people around you. Another common trial in the desert is unexpected loss. It could be the loss of a job, a friendship, or even something you considered essential to your life. These losses may seem unfair at first, but they have a purpose. God is removing what is not part of His plan for you. He is teaching you to trust Him, even when everything seems to be falling apart. The desert also brings emotional trials. It's that moment when you feel like you're being tested in every area of your life: emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. You may feel overwhelmed, as if you don't have the strength to continue. But it is precisely in this moment that God is strengthening you. He is teaching you to persevere, to trust, and to depend entirely on Him. In addition, many chosen ones face spiritual attacks during the desert. These attacks can manifest in various ways: insomnia, sudden fear, thoughts of giving up, or even situations that seem to arise out of nowhere to destabilize you. These attacks happen because the enemy knows you carry something special. He tries to discourage you before you reach the purpose God has for you. But remember, God will never allow you to go through something you cannot bear. He is with you every step of the way. The desert is not meant to destroy you, but to refine you. God would never allow you to go through this if He didn't have something great reserved for you. When you discover and live your purpose, you become an instrument in God's hands, bringing light, hope, and transformation to the world. Now that you have clarity about your purpose, let's see what is necessary to protect yourself spiritually during this journey. After all, fulfilling your mission requires strength, faith, and wisdom. God is with you every step of the way. The chosen ones cannot shine without facing resistance. The stronger your light, the more the darkness will try to extinguish it. This is a spiritual reality that every chosen one needs to understand. The light you carry is precious, but it also attracts challenges, attacks, and temptations. For this reason, protecting your spiritual energy is essential so that you can fulfill the purpose God has placed in your life. Spiritual protection is like a shield that keeps you firm in the face of adversity. It does not mean that you will never face difficulties, but that you will be prepared to deal with them without losing your essence. God gave you a mission, and to fulfill it, you need to be spiritually strengthened. Without this protection, it is easy to get lost amid distractions, negative influences, and attacks that arise to lead you off the path. Here are 5 practical ways to protect your light and shield your spiritual energy. 1. Constant prayer. Prayer is the foundation of all spiritual protection. It is through prayer that you connect with God, strengthen your soul, and find direction for your life. Prayer does not need to be something complicated or formal. It can be a sincere conversation with God, where you open your heart, give thanks, and ask for guidance and strength. When you pray, you create a spiritual barrier around yourself, allowing God to guide and protect you. Constant prayer is like recharging your spiritual energy daily, ensuring that you are prepared to face any challenge. 2. Cutting toxic ties. Not everyone around you is aligned with the purpose God has for you. Some people may drain your energy, discourage you, or even try to lead you astray. Identifying these toxic ties and distancing yourself from them is essential to protect your light. This does not mean you should hold grudges or treat these people with contempt, but rather that you need to prioritize your peace and your connection with God. Choose to be around people who uplift you, encourage your spiritual growth, and respect your journey. Additionally, the chosen ones must overcome rejection and loneliness. As we've seen, being chosen often means being misunderstood and rejected. But this rejection is not the end. It is part of the process of separation and preparation. God is molding you for something greater, and rejection is just one step along the way. Another challenge the chosen ones face is overcoming doubt. In moments of difficulty, it's easy to question whether God is truly by your side. But faith is what keeps you firm. It is believing that even when everything seems lost, God is working in your favor. Doubt may arise, but it should never paralyze you. Those who remain in God are never defeated. You are not called to be overcome, but to be more than a conqueror. This is the promise that sustains the chosen ones. Victory is not only over external challenges, but also internal ones. It is the certainty that at the end of the journey, you will be stronger, wiser, and closer to God. If you are facing battles, remember, they are not the end. They are the path to victory. God is with you, and His promise never fails. You were called to overcome, and your journey is just beginning. If you have felt this calling, know that God is with you every step of the way. You are not alone, and everything you've faced so far has a greater purpose. God has chosen you, equipped you, and is preparing you for something extraordinary. Trust in Him, for your light is needed in this world.